Hey guys, this is Alex.
And this is Drew.
And today on the Two Man Comic Book Club podcast, we're taking a look at the last three issues of The Vision from 2015 by Tom King, Gabriel Hernandez Walta, Jordie Bellaire, and VC's Clayton Cowles. Let's go.
What does VC stand for?
You know, I've never, ever looked it up. For those of you that just listened to the intro, which it'd be really weird if you didn't.
Skip.
We just talked about the creators of this book. Well, I didn't talk about them. I just said who they were. And the letterers are very often from VCs.
Yeah.
I don't know. So VCs, we're literally saying the letter Clayton Cowles. Tori, the man in the chair. Will you find us an answer to that question? Who is...
Calligraphy? Calligrapher?
Virtual? No, it's not.
Because...
This would have been a killer trivia question.
So... I'm just thinking back in the day, everything would have been by hand.
Right. Virtuosic calligrapher.
Yeah.
Calligraphy.
Wait, VC... What is the... What are we looking at here specifically?
We just want to know what VCs stands for. And it's always a letterer for a comic book. It
VC's
says,
letterer?
Yeah. Like, in this instance, it's VC's Clayton Cowles. I don't know what it stands for.
Yeah.
Virtual calligraphy.
Is that really what it says?
That was the first thing that came up.
Wow.
That seems weird because surely not...
I mean,
these are for print comic book. I mean, I
But it
guess
is
they're
virtual,
using virtual
so-
medium to probably
maybe
or software to actually create it.
maybe back in the day they would have actually literally lettered with their hands.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking to see if I just completely biffed
You just
that.
stared at the first
Yeah.
gurgle that showed up.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
But
I might have been right with calligraphy.
While he's looking it up, I have a very exciting announcement that is not actually that exciting to probably most people. I experienced our first instance of us affecting people's use of the word gurgle. Due to listener, Sarah texted me and said that I don't remember the context, but she used gurgle.
Oh.
And it was a nice moment.
It'll be our legacy.
Yeah, that's it.
Just gurgles.
I actually got that from my stepdad. Mike, he says, gurgle it.
Nice.
So it stuck. You remember when I went and poured myself a water before
You didn't
we
actually
started?
bring
No, I
it over.
poured it. It's just sitting over there, way out of reach. So now I have to wait until our break to go get it, or I'll look like a fool. But that's all right.
Or I can kill
everything
time.
that I found is that, it's what it meant.
Say it again.
Virtual calligrapher.
Okay.
All
Is that
right.
like a company? Because it's VCs. It seems like, and we're sending out ESPN's.
Exactly. That's why I'm confused. There is a VC's comic,
Interesting.
but I don't think that's the...
Well, you keep looking
If you're,
Okay.
and let me know if you find something.
if you're watching this and leave a comment, shoot us an email, all those things.
You know, I heard Clayton Cowles does listen. He doesn't watch.
I wasn't
Maybe-
actually talking about that, but sure, yeah.
Maybe he knows. Surely he would know.
I bet you Clayton Cowles does, in fact, know what
Yeah.
VCs stands for.
What have you been up to, man?
I don't know. What day is it?
It is Thursday,
I don't-
January 28th, 2021. That sounds like a flash on a movie from the future. Like, we're in the future, y'all. We made it.
I mean, I was watching an episode of Star Trek the other day where they were talking about the 80s. Like, it was so futuristic because this was from the 60s.
Is Star Trek that old? I did
Star
not
Trek
know.
was from like 66 or 5 or something.
I had no idea.
67,
It was
because the end of the second season, the end of the second season, they have one of those time travel episodes where they go back to 1968, and it was a big deal because it was 1968.
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
So,
Weird.
but I think that's an answer to your question. Star Trek. I've been up to Star Trek. That's it.
Yeah.
I've done some work on music. I've done some work with other things and Star Trek.
Right on. You been reading anything, yo?
I have not,
9.
other than Stephen King. But no comics have.
You read these to
Well-
kind of catch up, yeah.
I read these 3 comics.
Yeah. I have
But
also been...
I feel like a cheater, pumpkin eater.
Well, sometimes other things happen. My disclaimer, we almost didn't record this today. I am so busy. I did the math the
How
other day.
busy are you?
So busy that I'm busy. I'm doing like 5 things outside of my full-time job that kind of equate to part-time jobs, whether I'm getting paid for them or not. I've got AMA, which is really the one that's taking up a bulk of my time. It's a good thing, but it is a lot of work. I'm working for a company called Outdoor Ecom right now, doing some freelance contract work for them. I'm doing private lessons. I'm arranging music for Greenwood High School right now. There was another one. I did the math. There were 5 of them. And I thought, wow.
Did you say Walmart?
Wow. No, that's my full-time job. These 5 are in addition to my full-time gig.
Was it this?
2-man. Yeah, this in its own. Like, it seems like in an ideal world, we would just show up, hit record, and go, and then suddenly it was magically on YouTube and wherever you listen to this podcast. It is not that. It takes us an hour just to set this thing up. Now, if we were like sprinting and like don't talk to each other, set it up, maybe it would take a little less time, but it really does. Like, if you could see everything right now, I'll go to the wide shot. You're not even seeing all the lights that are behind the wide shot camera right now or right next to it. So like there's cameras there, there's cameras here, cameras here. And then the editing process takes forever. We just witnessed superpowers, ladies and gentlemen. Mundane they might be. Yep. It just takes so long. It's 2 hours plus to edit the podcast. It's just a lot. So we almost didn't record because we ran out of time, but then I got off work early and I'm like, let's do it.
Let's do it.
But while I've been working, I wonder if Walmart's listening to this right now. I'm going to roll the dice. While I've been working, I have off to the side, my iPad is usually playing some sort of media, and I made it through the entirety of the original run of Dragon Ball, all 5 seasons. It was fun. I'm going to start Dragon Ball Z now, I think. But I have been reading some. I've been working on the Avengers Disassembled run, which takes place before House of M, so that I can read House of M. This has been slow going, though, because I'm so wiped. I've been getting in bed at 7 so that I can actually fall asleep at 8, just so I can function the next day on my busy day. So not as much reading. I did find time during lunch today to read through these last 3 comics for the 4th time.
Huzzah!
Question mark. They're so good, dude. Yeah. I still get chills. I like it when things give me chills. It affects me. I like being generally affected, as they say.
General effect.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a band world music competition.
For those of you that don't know, which is probably most of you, GE, they have GE judges for the marching arts, marching bands, and color guards, and indoor drum lines, and
where
lot.
The judges, after the fact, they'll think back and they're like, I was generally affected by that show.
Yeah, you
they
get a
win.
score. Yeah, and sometimes that score is the heaviest weighted score in the whole thing, because you have a music judge and a visual judge, and then just general effect. How was the whole package? How did it affect me and the general audience? It's it can be quite controversial because, as you can imagine, something like that can be quite subjective.
Quite.
Generally. Anyway, I haven't read too much, watched a whole lot, but it's all been in the background for busy Alex.
Yeah.
It's busy times.
What about you? What you been reading, yo?
I'm nearly done with the comics that I got from y'all.
Sweet.
Yes.
You've been working your way through those quick.
Yeah. I mean, I could have gone through them quicker, but I kind of wanted to take my time with them. Yeah.
For sure.
Really enjoyed the artwork in it, and just the direction they took with it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm not really reading anything.
It's okay. It happens.
Yeah. This is a light reading week for us all, I think. Cool. Well, I think because we're going to try again to do 3 issues in this episode, that we're going to jump right in. This will be the final series where we're covering this vision, and we'll jump to something new. Again, we thought this was important enough and relevant enough with the new show coming out to go down the whole series and see how much they pull, which it is already obvious that they've been hammering it quite hard, especially for the visual stake of just this sort of thing, this Stepford wife, the traditional suburban family, if you will. So once again, we're going to start with Vision number 10. This is with Tom King writing, Gabriel Hernandez-Waltz as the artist, Jordie Bellaire as the color artist, and virtual calligraphies, Clayton Cowles for letters and production.
I swear that's the most I could find.
Until we hear otherwise,
okay.
Maybe we'll get somebody to hate tweet at us saying that we're idiots because we didn't know that it was... I don't know. I can't think of anything else it would be now.
Vocational construct.
Yeah. Volcanic.
That's better. I like that. Consultant.
That's it.
Volcanic consultant.
Yeah. So where did we pick up, Drew? Or sorry, where did we end off or lead off last time at issue number 9? Did we just have Agatha say the Vision would raise the world?
No, I actually looked at it a second.
Oh, no.
But,
I know where we were.
Oh, yeah.
Vin just got killed by his uncle in creation.
I think, was he actually killed or just like, the narrator said he would not be able to be brought back. But
they definitely alluded to it. We've had several moments where it seemed like somebody was dead and they weren't quite there.
When we left off, maybe they thought there was still hope.
Right. But Vision was holding his son and his uncle Victorious was kind of in the corner, like freaking out, as there have been a lot of instances of, after you kill somebody, you tend to not react well, I guess. Wouldn't know. So that's where we ended. Vin was dead after he discovered that his uncle was a plant by the Avengers to keep tabs on Vision. They didn't want to storm his house and be like, we have to take you over. We don't, we can't trust you to be by yourself based on these visions. But little did they know this was kind of self-realizing prophecy sort of thing, where they're the reasons for the thing that they're trying to prevent, or at least it seems that it's leading that way. So we open up and we're in Vision's living room, and he's just sitting there in the dark, and he has Captain America's lighter, and he's just flicking it on and off in a very kind of ominous way, and you can tell that he's like in deep thought. And then moving into the next part of this, he's sitting there getting ready for bed, and he's kind of like just going through the reason of why and what he's about to do. So he's basically just saying, I've been through all this logic in my head and had all this time to process these different outcomes, and I'm basically laying them against religious and philosophical traditions, of which most humans fall under one variation or another. And his current outcome is that it's not just, and what is not just must be addressed, and therefore he must, and then he starts kind of like glitching almost. So it's the first time we've seen Vision glitch. We've seen his children and his wife do it, and even Victorious, who murdered his son. But Vision's always been the one to have some sort of reason to be able to like maintain composure through all this. But he alludes that he's thinking he has to do something, but he can't bring himself to say it. And then all he does is repeat that he's a Vision of the Avengers and he's saved the world 37 times, which is almost alluding like, I can't do that. But he thinks he has to, and maybe even knows, and they go to bed. And next morning they're at the table sitting there, basically just talking about what is happening now that they're basically... What's up?
I had a question, and it's not important, but I noticed it. There's 2 beds. I don't feel like there were always 2 beds, because they sat there telling a joke to each other, or like...
Oh, yeah, the toaster joke.
So
he told it to her again.
I wondered for a minute if they were in a hotel, but later on it seems like they're not.
That's a good point.
I was just like, what's the deal with the 2 beds? And it might have been in my mind because we literally just saw that in WandaVision.
Right.
So
yeah, there is some significance there, I guess, that they're separated now, maybe.
They're both 2 beds, big beds, enough that, because they're both even laying on the same bed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, that is weird. I don't know what the significance of that is, because it definitely feels like a change, because they've...
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. So the next morning, they're sitting there at the table. Obviously, Vin's not with us anymore, but Viv, or at least as far as we know, we don't know where Vin's at or what happened to his body. Vision's telling his daughter, like, you're still going to do your schoolwork. You're just doing it from home. We're basically on I forget the term they used, home incarceration or something like that.
Yeah.
But they can't leave their house.
House arrest.
They're under house arrest right now until Iron Man assures him that everything is, everything is good. Basically, the Avengers are looking into what happened, but everything's going to stay home. So they're just sitting there trying to like act normal, but you can tell that they're like stuck in this weird position. And the dog, Sparky, he tries to like run to the door and like go outside like a dog would, but he gets shocked. So you kind of realize that they're not just obeying the Avengers rules and staying at home by request, but they can't leave. And as soon as the dog tries to run through, he gets shocked and forced to stay inside. And Iron Man calls Vision and is like, somebody just trying to breach. And he's like, I assure you, this is not going to happen again. I'll adjust the dog's programming later. This was an accident. And during this whole time, Virginia's sitting at this piano, the vibranium piano. She's singing in a very kind of creepy way, the row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. And it ends with her glitching on Life is But a Dream.
When it shows her hands, either the lid is shut or there are no keys. And it looks like the thing's being held together by 2x4s.
Yes.
Like this whole thing, I'm just like, is she even playing or is she faking it?
Yeah, it is kind of a weird, creepy thing. Like we've seen instances of her playing piano throughout, and having technical proficiency as a robot or a synthezoid would rather. But now she's just like there. It's almost like she's trying to mimic some sort of normalcy back into her life. But again, it's in the context and where she's doing it. It's missing. It's misfiring.
Yeah.
So in this next moment, we get a very real, profound moment, at least I would argue, throughout this whole series. So Vision goes upstairs to his daughter and knocks and says on her door and says, "Can I come in?" She says yes, and he goes, "I noticed you haven't downloaded your coursework for the day. I was wondering if..." And then he walks through and faces to the wall, and Viv is on her knees with her hands clutched like this, about to start praying, which, if you think about a synthezoid, is quite uncharacteristic. And I'm just going to read some of this dialogue here and go through it and just try to paint a picture of the scene. So he says, excuse me. And she says, "It's fine, Father. I've yet to start." And he says, "Oh, yes, of course. Well, if you haven't started, can I join you?" And she says, "Yes, you may join me." Go to the next page, and they're both on their knees at her bedside. And she says, "I'm praying for Vin's soul to be at rest." And he says, "I see." She says, "I do not know if there is a God. It seems unlikely." He cups his hands and says, "Yes, it does seem unlikely." She says, "I also don't know if Vin had a soul." And he says, "This too seems unlikely." So first, she says, "I'm going to pray that there is a God. And then I'm going to pray that Vin had a soul. Then I'm going to pray for God to allow Vin's soul to rest. If that order is satisfactory, Father, then perhaps you will follow me." And then he agrees, and they proceed to recite basically in that order. They pray for those things. She says, "Please let there be a God." Vision repeats, "Please let brother have a soul." He repeats, and then, "Please let God let my brother rest." And Vision repeats. And during that, we get, once again, a look at all three of the significant items that have been inside the Vision household. We get a look at Steve Rogers' lighter from World War II. Sorry, is that World War I? World War II. Two, yes. And then you kind of have to... I want to acknowledge this panel without also getting you to think about it too much. We see Sparky the dog take a bite of one of the plants on the Wonder Gore plant, one of the flowers, and he's eating it. And then we see the vase of Zenla, and again, Virginia sitting at the piano, just kind of sorrowfully standing there. And Vision and Virginia say amen, and we move to the next panel. Drew, you want to take us through some of these next panels? These are some good ones.
Yeah, this next bit, we already know that Virginia is losing it a bit. She has been for practically the whole series.
Yeah, the wheel's been very slowly unscrewing.
But we see her like stepping out of the refrigerator, which we happen to see at one point they used to hold oil cans.
Right.
And she has this oil can in her hand, and basically she's losing it because it was the last one that she saw Vin use on himself.
We even saw that in one of the last comics.
Yeah. And he's just like, this is from when George Nora was over. And basically Vision takes it from her. And they also mention the lighter. And it's just, he kind of takes it from her and just throws the oil can in the trash.
Yeah, he just mentions the lighter only lasted as long as it did because it was made out of vibranium.
Yeah.
And that's it. It was just metal that lasted.
Okay, I have a question about that. That is also not important to this, but I'm curious. Mm-hmm. They said it was a vibranium steel alloy, the same thing that the shield is made from. Is that true? I always thought the shield was like solid vibranium.
I've heard different things. I don't know if this is a retcon. Tori, maybe you can verify the materials that make up that shield, because in the MCU it's vibranium.
Okay.
Which makes more sense. It's definitely not adamantium, which is Wolverine's metal. So there've been, I think, some maybe.
I know it's vibranium of some sort. I was just curious. Right. Was it vibranium steel both an alloy?
It's a vibranium plus steel plus unknown substance alloy.
Interesting. Okay.
In the MCU or in comic books in general?
That's a good question.
Yeah, because they've kind of taken some liberty. Mm-hmm. He might be just kind of generalizing, and the nature of this conversation makes me think that he's just kind of like, the lighter, a gift from Captain America, was made from a vibranium alloy. It is due to this unique property that it still functions. So you see, it is just metal that has lasted. Mm-hmm. And he throws the oil can away. He almost seems like frustrated that she's holding on to this thing. I don't know. You get a lot of. This is definitely another one that we encourage you to read. It's all on Marvel Unlimited, but there's a lot of emotion in these and how they're treating each other, Anyway, go ahead. If you find it, Tori, please interrupt.
And then Vision is phasing through the door of Vin's room, and it's dark, and he's just kind of looking around. And I don't know if I ever talked about my eyeball nightmare on here. Oh, I did for Brightburn. But it was I was like, good, this is happening, because Vision pops his eyeball out, which I've had nightmares about.
Right.
But
he's a robot though, so it doesn't hurt him.
And he sets it on a thing, and it hits a button, and it's a projector, and it's basically playing back Vin's his last memory of Vin, where Vin is trying to recite Shakespeare for him, and Vision's repeatedly like, I'm sorry, I don't have time. I'm on a call with the Avengers.
Right.
And it's just like, it reminds me of that song. This would have been great if I'd actually remembered what the words were. But it's about the I'm sorry, Dad, I don't have time, or son, it's like from the 70s or something like that. Yeah. Spoiler alert, I completely forgot where I was going with that. There is a song from the 70s.
It is a sad moment because he's
about this same thing.
He's sitting there with a very solemn look. You know, he's seeing a moment where he had a chance to pay attention to his son, and he just completely didn't, because he thought it wasn't that important in the moment, and he kind of wishes he had that moment back.
And
which is probably a very real human thing that has happened. Sure. We all wish we had another chance to be different in a moment.
Got another completely irrelevant thing, but did you ever watch How I Met Your Mother?
No, I didn't.
Well, there's this scene where one of the characters' dad dies.
Oh,
and
spoilers. I'm just kidding.
He goes through the rest of the episode, like trying to make sure, like the last thing he ever talked about with his dad was like in anger or something. But he found out after the fact he had like a voicemail from him,
right?
And it was like his dad telling him how much he loved him. So he was like, "Guys, I'm never gonna leave things without making sure that everyone knows how I feel." And he was like walking out of there. He was like, "So I'm gonna need you all to know that I love you, each and every one of you, and I need to go drop a deuce." And then he walks out of the room. In case I die, I love you all, and I got to go drop a deuce. Anyway, so Vision's kind of envisioning. He's thinking back on this, and you can see the wheels turning. He's like, "All right, I've had enough of this," and he takes the lighter, and I guess for whatever reason he assumes, well, it's vibranium. It'll help me get out of this. And it shows him like opening the door and just like pushing it against the shield.
Yeah.
When I say shield, I mean like the electromagnetic shield.
Yeah, recall that Sparky, their dog, got shocked trying to leave.
So he's like pushing it through, trying to short circuit it, and flies out. And we see him flying through the air in his Avengers get-up garb. Can't remember if this is...
Yeah, this is all important if you want to read it. Just the red.
You're better at reading than me.
okay, well, he's flying out of the house. Again, he's not supposed to leave.
Yeah.
And he's got a very determined look, and he's suited up in his Avengers. And you can understand why maybe they were wanting to like keep an eye on him. You know, some pretty traumatic stuff has happened. So this red narration comes over the top, and you kind of get a thought that it is Vision. Having hindsight now, I know who it is.
Yeah.
It says, as unlikely as it seems, there is indeed a God above us, someone to greet our souls when we leave this life, someone to tell us that we have done enough and that we have done what we could, that now finally we may rest. We go to the next panel and we see the Avengers. They're kind of training and cracking jokes as they normally would. The dialogue's not too important. And it says, however, and unfortunately, robots do not have souls. They do not rest and they simply end. As you see, some prayers are answered and some are not. And during this dialogue, the Avengers are interrupted by Nova, who says, we get a red alert, basically. Vision just left the premises and he's heading for the jail where Victorious is kept.
Yep.
And Tony Stark quickly says, everybody, we're leaving in 5 minutes. Nova, get everyone. And Nova's like, okay, but what do you mean everybody? And he said, everybody now. End of comic.
Literally everyone.
Yeah. So we're calling in the Avengers. He might as well have said Avengers Assemble, but I'm glad they didn't. Like it was more of a panicked moment than that. Like,
and also, I mean, Vision's an Avenger.
Yeah,
So
right. And then that one ends.
Yeah.
So I really liked that issue a lot. Like it was one of my favorite in the whole run. We get like a little bit of calm before the storm, but it's just like full of just sadness and angst, and like we finally see that it didn't work. The whole thing that Vision's been going for, this normalcy, there's a big enough crack in the bell, so to speak, that it's just not going to quite resonate how he had planned on it. And he's finally had enough, and he's come to this conclusion that despite his many attempts, and even we see what's more human than to try to have some faith and some religion and take on something like that, you know. We see one final swing and attempt at that in a gesture that he's even still trying to have some life, some soul, but it's just not enough to stop him from cracking at the end. And the Avengers know that. Tony Stark, the leader of the Avengers, knows that. Get everybody, because he's going to go do something really bad. And it's going to take everybody to stop Vision, because he's the Vision, you know. Yeah. What do you guys think of that one?
Everything you said.
Copy paste.
Yeah. You can tell, like, all right, we are building up to a head.
Right.
So,
yeah. And we're going to reach that in just a moment. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with number 11. This is a cool issue. And we're back with issue 11. I believe this is the same creative team. It in fact is. And we're going to jump right in. This is I
have a question about the cover.
Yeah. Hit me with it.
Right.
I'll see if I can answer.
I made a note as I was reading them the first time. What is Vision burying? And I'm not quite sure. I mean, it's just ominous. I think that's all it is. Saying like, hey, look, we've come full circle.
Right.
But
this is an interesting one, because I feel like it's a combination of things to come and things that have already happened. Yeah. Because this, to me, looks like the end of issue 8, I believe, where he's like, I think that's the issue where he learns about everything. Yeah. So he's putting the pool in, because we have seen the house in shambles, which also might make sense of why they're like, let's get 2 beds in here. We destroyed the whole house.
Maybe.
So I don't know. But then also, it also was just a fun cover of Sparky playing fetch with Cap's shield.
Yeah.
It is a cool cover. Colors are very striking. So we find ourselves, if you remember, Vision just went to go seemingly kill Victorious, his quote-unquote brother. I guess it's his brother. Ultron also created him for similar reasons that Vision was made. But we see Virginia and Viv sitting quietly. I guess little Sparky's there too, hovering over the table. And Virginia basically is just laying it all out there. And Virginia is telling Viv, your father broke the shield that left the house. He intends to kill your uncle, Victor Mancha. I'm also going to read all this by what they mean to say, but understand that if Virginia's talking, she's kind of glitching through all this.
Yeah.
And Viv's like, oh. And Virginia says, I believe the only way that anyone can stop him is to kill him. After which they will label us as his dangerous creations, and most likely they're going to shut us off. So this is really heavy stuff to tell your child, even if they are a synthezoid robot. And she says, that said, if they do not stop him, he will be incarcerated or executed, which in that case will be labeled as his dangerous creations and most likely shut off. And Viv's just kind of taking this in. And then we get this awesome full-page panel of the Vision. He's made it to his destination, and he's hovering, just kind of standing there, and across the way from him are the Avengers, and they're below him. And then we also get this very ominous poster for, I guess Simon Williams is an actor in this universe. I didn't know that. Maybe
I was wondering if you knew something about that.
But he's got a movie poster, and he's facing opposite, just the way the art's drawn. It's on the screen now if you're watching, kind of glaring at him. So it's kind of like him staring at himself, or a version of himself that's also on the side of the Avengers. You know, it kind of represents him going against everything he's been in the past. And the narration over this says, the first words the Synthezoid ever heard were that of his father. Welcome to the world of the living, Ultron said. You will never know but a half-life. So I feel like, just to make sure that we cover all this, it's important to understand that there's kind of a narration of Vision's first conversation with Ultron, questioning basically his entire being. Why does he exist? Going over the entire comic book. And otherwise, Vision lands on the ground and says, I understand that due to his role in the death of my neighbors and my son, actions undertaken under your supervision, Victor Mancha, a.k.a. my brother, Victorious, is being held here in the Arlington Courthouse jail. And Tony's like, Vision interrupts him and says, I'm here to visit Victor in his cell, and then I will kill him for killing Vin. And this is all like super matter of fact. And Tony's trying to reason with him. He's like, man, listen, you can't do that. And then Vision interrupts again and says, I would greatly appreciate your cooperation in this matter. However, I do not require your cooperation in this matter. And he's got this look like, basically, that was your final warning. And Tony says, okay, fine, reaches into his suit and pulls out what he calls a portable shield similar to the one in his house. And he says, this is going to keep you contained until we can. Vision interrupts him again and shoots a blast out of the crystal on his head, and Tony Stark is like out. Like, there's one down. It's kind of like playing chess and having a cheat code where you go straight for the king. Right? Like, immediately, huge shot fired warning, and everybody's just standing there. And again, over the top of this, we have this narration of that conversation that happened before. And
I think Spider-Man pretty much sums everything up as he's standing over Iron Man's unconscious body, and he just squatted over and he's like, poop.
Squatted is appropriate.
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
I guess he does give them one final warning. After he hits Iron Man with a full blast, he says, I will repeat, I do not require your cooperation. And you can tell his teeth are gritted, and he's ready to go. And what we get after this is back and forth of the Avengers battle that ensues, trying to subdue Vision, and Virginia telling everything to her daughter. She starts with the fact that after the Grim Reaper was killed, somebody sought her. It was CK's father. He blackmailed me, and the ensuing stop of me telling him that I'm not going to be blackmailed by him. He shot at me. It phased through me. It killed her son. Virginia freaks out because she says he thought it. Yeah, sorry, Viv freaks out, saying he thought I was cool, and is just mad that understandably, her mother killed the boy that she liked. And
they've got a broken table again now.
Yeah, she went through it. And then we just see like Vision absolutely manhandling the Avengers, which I think is really cool. Vision's not the Superman of the team, but in ways he's the Martian Manhunter that could, in some ways,
there's actually a lot of parallels.
Right. Yeah. That could, on a given day, maybe even take on Supes.
Did you know that Martian Manhunter phases also?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of parallels between those two characters, and Vision's just having his way. At one point, you think maybe the Spider Boys, Peter Parker and Miles Morales, get the upper hand for a second. Like, they at least make him, they knock him into a wall and like break open a building. By the way, we're next to a theater. I think that's an important, not super important. I will mention also, I'm going to put these on the screen, sensory warning for those that that have that. This is a similar scene to what we saw with the cat. After Viv storms off for being mad, Virginia loses it finally and starts attacking Sparky, the dog, and ends up killing the dog.
And she's basically like, they have it framed to where every move that Vision does against the Avengers, she's doing on Sparky, and that made me sad.
Yeah, it was a very tough couple pages. I'll put them on there again as your warning, but it was very artfully drawn and very creative. Just kind of a parallel of what's going on in the two worlds at the same time. So the Spider Boys do kick him into this thing, but then he throws this piece of giant rock wall at them and takes them out. And he looks up and he's broken into the theater where Simon is acting, and he's kind of looking up at who was responsible for his brainwaves. And basically we see all this come to a head. But what I mentioned was important, and was this the last comic?
Yes, I had to look it up because I was like, when did that happen? I was looking through my notes and I had to go back out.
So you'll remember that during the last comic that we just mentioned in the first part of this episode, the dog ate a piece of the Wonder Gore
As soon
plant.
as I saw that, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, that was kind of a foreshadow that he was going to die because, again, that plant has to be consumed twice for you to have a vision. And that's the reason that Virginia killed the dog. She like, knew
what?
it.
It wasn't like she made him do it.
Right.
She probably just saw that he did it and was like, well, let's see how this thing ends.
Right. Which is kind of an interesting wink. Like, how did she know that? Yeah. You know, why would she know that?
And then they start talking about how she starts like playing back memories in her head. And then there's memories that she has that aren't her, you know, like the joke in bed, you know, a kiss behind a tree. So somehow she is aware of all of these memories of Wanda. And somewhere in there, she's able to glean that, oh, this is how the Wonder Gore plant works.
Right. And if you remember, I think it was issue 7, which I've actually been, I actually sent that very issue. I own the floppy of that with Chris at Port John's. He delivered coffee the other day, and I traded him. I said, I want you to read this. I know you're watching WandaVision. I think they're going to play off of that issue specifically a lot. But if you remember in that issue that we covered, she hands him a jump drive essentially with her being, you know.
So it's her. Yeah.
So Virginia is essentially made up of, like, she's a construct made up of Wanda. You know, he tried to copy Wanda into a synthezoid that was more like him that he could have. So Vision just trashed the Avengers, and he's phasing through, going to the cell that's carrying Victor Mancha, and he walks in there, and Wanda's there, and standing next to her is the ghost of Agatha Harkness.
Well, floating.
Yeah, floating, sorry. And Vision kind of...
Not that it matters.
Yeah, acknowledges her and says, Wanda, Agatha, I have come to take this boy's life as he took my boy's life. I would greatly appreciate your cooperation in the matter, and once again, I do not require your cooperation in the matter. And basically, Wanda tries to reason with him, and for a second, it looks like it's going to work. Like, they even kind of embrace, or she embraces him, and he says, I'm so sorry, Wanda. I do not think that you understand or that you ever understood. And he just, like, touches her. I think he, like, phases into her, maybe. He hurts her, and she's out for the count. And because Agatha Harkness is just a ghost, she can't really do anything. And he says to her, he says, Agatha, will there be more, or are we finished? Like, he's had enough. And she just says, damn you, child, damn you. And he goes in, and basically, really quickly, Victor realizes what's about to happen. He says, I understand. I've done what I've done, and you've got to do what you've got to do. And Vision agrees. And just when he raises his hand to kill him, another hand phases through.
Yeah.
And you see somebody say husband.
And I saw this, and I was just like, I didn't think anything of it until I turned the page, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so suddenly Virginia has phased into the room and beat Vision to the punch, and she kills Victor Mancha. And we get some dialogue that says, we each have a destiny, a code embedded in us by our creators, and we move forward, we follow this code. And somebody's referring to, you know, your father referring to this code, and he had a job, and he did this, and he, you know, he saved the earth a bunch of times. And Virginia rips out Victor Mancha's heart, and then basically looks at Vision and says, as often as you provided me with comfort, I believe you need to go home and comfort your daughter who's mad at me for for revealing all these things. I'll see you at home. And she phases out of the wall and she leaves. And that's the end of issue 11.
Yeah. I'm just like, okay. I was telling him, Alex, as we were setting up, I didn't expect it, but it seemed like, I mean,
Right.
the next issue's kind of just a wrap up, but you get to see what it is. And I thought it was a graceful way to end things.
For sure, because this is a little kind of like peek behind the curtain. When they're writing these comics, the writers are definitely writing a story of their own. You know, they're not being told directly that this is what you can and can't do. They definitely have to ask the powers that be, can I kill off a character? Because all these writers are talking to each other. Like there's big events going on that they kind of weave in and out of each other. So they have to be aware of stuff like this. So I was wondering, like, are they going to let Vision become the enemy in this book? You know, like, because that's a pretty bold thing to do. And they didn't not do that. You know, he still just attacked the Avengers. But there's going to be some context for that coming up in the final issue 12 of this. And how are we doing on time?
We got time to cover it now.
Cool. We're going to jump right into it then. So this is issue 12, and this essentially deals with the fallout of this entire event. So there's a couple cops just sitting there kind of hanging out.
The same one that came and took Vision in for questioning.
Right. Sitting there. One of them's eating a donut. Lynn gets a call, and he basically is like, yes, Miss Vision, of course, I remember. And the rest of this, Drew, I'm going to let you summarize this, is Virginia basically telling us what happened.
Yeah. She just calls to give a confession. That's almost right, you know. She's just saying, like, yeah, Grim Reaper arrived, I killed him. Got blackmailed, and accidentally, you know,
Killed the son.
Killed the son. And I knew that Vision was going to be upset about this, and he was going to try to take matters into his own hands. So I put this whole scenario together to where, you know, he didn't know anything. I went in and changed his programming to where he didn't remember any of this stuff.
Yeah, it actually shows her, like, finger turning into a tool, and while he's sleeping, she, like, inserts her finger into his ear and, like, starts working, like, programming him, essentially.
Yeah. To not remember, so that, like, so he wasn't lying when he said he didn't know all this. I changed it, and I convinced him to go and fight the Avengers so that I could get in and
that's important because she knew that after all this happened that she was going to have to kill Victor Mancha, but she knew that she couldn't get past the Avengers, but she knew Vision could.
Yeah, and then while she's on the phone, she reaches out and takes some water from the vase of Zen Law and drinks it. And there's that same thing. There's a Detective Lynn's like, can anyone confirm it? She said, yes, I can confirm it.
Right.
And then we get to see, you know, him coming home and
Vision, that is.
Vision, and working his way back through the shield. And he goes in and basically he talks with Virginia, and Virginia admits all of this stuff, or the confession. And he basically fights back and is like, well, I'm going to tell them that you lied. And she was like, no, you can't. Basically, like, I did this to save your destiny. Like, I'm the one that did all this. You never did it. You're still the Vision. You've saved the world. You have to be. Yeah, you have to be. She was like, you've saved the world 37 times. Am I jumping ahead? Or that?
The only thing that she does say kind of in passing is, I killed the dog.
Yeah, and she just,
a sad moment.
But she makes a comment. She was like, yeah, and you've saved the world 37 times. I did it once. And
she also does say she's uploaded all this, so that even if he wants to try to go in and program something different, the files are already uploaded.
Yeah. But I loved this little part when she was like, it was nice. And he says, no, my love, it was kind. Right. Kind of tipping the hat to the very first couple pages of the entire series where they were arguing over the semantics of if something is kind or if something is nice.
Right.
And as this whole time she's kind of drifting and drifting because she's poisoned herself.
Yeah.
And then we got some chilling narration. Virginia did the right thing, or she did the wrong thing, or she did what everyone does. And then we see... I
want to read this real quick just to end it. So she's dying. she didn't poison herself. The vase of in-law is water and electronics. There's just she's not letting it phase through her, and it's destroying her from the inside out. And she says, after the flower, referring to the Wundagore flower, I saw your future. I saw you destroy the future for us, for me. You saved the world 37 times. I saved it once. Which was just a nice moment. And then it leads into all the stuff you said. And she dies in Vision's arm. And in the context, this is something that we skimmed through, but you should definitely read this. This is the moment that gave me chills earlier, just reading it. Like it's heavy. And then we finally see, and I'll let Drew kind of go over this, who's actually been narrating the last few issues, because it has changed and not been Agatha Harkness.
Yeah, once we realized it wasn't Agatha, we noticed, oh, it's really red now. And I don't know why I didn't put two and two together of that, but whatever. Wanda is walking with Viv, and as she's talking, she continues the thread that the narration put out. So Wanda has been narrating this whole time.
Yeah, and talking to Vision's daughter.
Yeah, and basically saying, don't hate your mother. She did this for you. She did this for your family so that you can, try to have some semblance of a normal life.
Right.
So
after she explains all that to her, she does say, like, you should love your mom and understand, like, why this should be here. And they kind of make a little wink at Vin reciting some Shakespeare here, just finding the right thing to say. And she goes, I got something that'll help, maybe, hopefully, something that you can share with that stubborn, handsome father of yours. And she kind of does the thing where she puts her fingers together and whistles. And then you see a little Sparky kind of wolfing around the thing. And she says, always remember, dear, with a little magic and a little Tony Stark, the impossible is ever possible. And this certainly is a nice moment, because I don't know if my heart could have taken it if little innocent Sparky stayed dead. I've kind of, in some research outside of this, discovered that I think Ebony, Agatha Harkness's cat, can come back as well.
Okay.
Like, there's some witchcraft going on. They can bring stuff back from the dead. So Kitty and Doggy, who we all really care about more than any of the characters, are going to be okay. But Sparky lives on, and Viv's quite happy. So kind of as an outro to this whole series, we see Vision helping Viv get ready for school. It's just a regular day. Viz is in his regular dad clothes. And he's like, did you pack a lunch? And he's like, Father, I don't eat. And they kind of get to the thing. Is like, she says, 2 months ago, my uncle killed my brother. And in response, my mother killed my uncle and then killed herself. And I'm a teenage synthezoid being raised by an Avenger. I'm not normal, Father, and that's okay. And she says, but I am late getting started, so I got to go. And she says, goodbye. And he says, goodbye. And then he goes in, and he's kind of standing there for a second, and he walks upstairs, and then this panel slides up in his bedroom with a red laser on it, and he puts his hand on it, scans green, and it opens this secret compartment to where it has like a case in it, and Sparky's kind of wolfing with some excitement, kind of like, pay attention to me. And Vision gives them a shh, and as he opens it, he starts singing, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, and gets all the way through it to Life is But a Dream, and we see him tinkering and working on another synthezoid. Yeah. But there's not enough detail on this synthezoid to actually know who it is.
I mean, my gut, because of what he's singing, would be, I almost said Wanda, would be Virginia. But
also we don't know where Vin's at.
Yeah.
So it could be either of them, and maybe he's working on both of them or on some order. But yeah, he is singing the song that we last heard her singing. And then the series ends.
So do they ever tap back into this family at all? Or is it just kind of
I do know, I'm 90%, I know one of them, okay. I know Viv is part of the Champions, which is essentially the Young Avengers right now. I also think Vin is part of that team, but I don't know for sure. But I'm 90% sure that I've seen him in a panel with his sister as part of the Champions team, which has Miles Morales, Kamala Khan, Sam Alexander Nova, I think, and a few others. So they're not done. This whole series went on to win an Eisner and is still like Tom King's magnum opus. Like, this is and was one of the more iconic comic book runs of the 2010s. It was just so good.
So good.
It's
a Homestar Runner reference, if you didn't catch that.
I think it might be one of my favorite just like isolated runs of of the 2010s for sure. It's just so good. I've read it so many times now. I mean, 4 all the way through, and it's just it hits really hard. It's so different than the majority of the comics than all the comics that I've read. I can't think of another series like that. It just hits on so many different human emotions and levels that most comics don't make me feel, at least simultaneously. Like there's some funny moments, but there's some like true drama and like weight to the actions of the characters, and it's told in a very creative way. And yeah, I mean, Tom King and team killed it.
Well done.
And we're seeing some of this flavor, like some of this was thrown into the WandaVision pot as they were cooking. So definitely visually aesthetics, for sure. Yeah, what do you guys think? Like, I could talk about this all day, but
It was good. I mean, I was telling Alex earlier, I did not see the ending coming. I don't know if I'd stopped and thought about it, I might have, but I was just like, man, Vision's going to be the bad guy. This whole family's going to be the bad guy.
right.
But, you know, like I mentioned, I think I said earlier, gracefully, I suppose you could say, they found a way to keep Vision on the good side, at least predominantly.
You know, I just thought of something, and I truly have not had this thought until this moment. I was trying to think of where did they go after this? Like, did they just ignore that the Vision single-handedly took out the Avengers, and they're like, it's fine. I mean, maybe because they would have found out that Virginia programmed him, and they're like, okay, we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt that was truly against him, and also maybe put something in place to where this doesn't happen again. But in the Avengers run that was going on, the Mighty Avengers, I believe, is from 2015 when this was happening. Vision attacks and is kind of like sabotaging Miss Marvel during this and making her look like she's not ready to be in the Avengers. So I wonder if that is a direct reference to this this Vision being manipulated thing.
Maybe.
I can't recall. I'll have to go back and read that and report back later if I think to do. Yeah, super cool. I love it. Tori, what did you think? I know you jumped the gun and read ahead early because you couldn't stop reading.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I don't, as somebody who's involved with this podcast, I don't typically read superhero books anyway, or comic books anyway. But this one was fantastic.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's definitely a superhero book, but it steers away from all of the typical superhero tropes. I feel like it definitely deals with more just different subject matter in general. Like it's not a where's the bad guy, let's go beat him. What kind of tricky thing are they doing today?
So I don't know if there's an answer to this. Are we to assume that it was not supposed to end this way? And it wasn't until Virginia saw the future and changed it because, you know, they were talking about how... So in this case, fate can be changed.
In this argument, I mean, there were two separate visions, not characters, like visions seen by Agatha Harkness and
Agatha's
Virginia.
Was the Vision destroys the world.
Virginia saw it when she did. She said, "Oh, this is real," and she said, "I can change this."
Up until Virginia
showed up and killed,
took the heart, we were on our way to Vision destroying everything.
And the text implies that more than we let on. If you go back and read some of those panels again, you should absolutely read this series. It's 12 issues. They're very easy to read. Read multiple times as we have. Like she goes on to say, like, you saved the world 31 times. I saved it once. She knows she saved the world by. I mean, he took out the Avengers, Earth's mightiest heroes. He's for sure going to take on everyone else because he's a man who lost his son. You know, who wouldn't, do something like that. So, just brilliant writing. Tom King is awesome. He's gone on to get a lot of really cool gigs because of this book. But anyway, I think we're going to wrap up that series, and we'll be right back with the final lightning trivia round for this series. We'll be right back. And we're back with our lightning round trivia, where our trivia is faster than Iron Man, rather. And I almost said Captain America. That's not it. This is taking a long time. I'm going to get onto it now. Where Iron Man urged Nova to assemble the Avengers whenever he found out that Vision had broken out of his home. Man, that was the slowest one we've had yet.
I don't know about that. I had a slow one time where I started without even knowing what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So
Right now, what are the points? What are the points at, yo?
My boy Alex is winning. He has 2 points. Me and Torrance both have a point. So, and I have a feeling he's going to get a 3rd point from me, but we'll see.
We'll see. So you want to go first because it'll be more dramatic if you
Sure. Yeah.
Kobe Bryant at the buzzer.
And then I missed the first of yours, and it's just like, well, I guess there's always, I could win because of Torrance. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we've just got done reading a 12-issue arc where Tom King was writing about one particular family.
Wow.
In his other comic book writing life, like other books he writes for,
Right.
he writes about another family, if you will. What is that family?
Another family, if you will.
And I'm using, remember
family
the
loosely.
if you will.
Okay. I know that Tom King has written relatively recently of the Bat family. Is that correct?
Yeah. I tried to look away because I was like, I don't want to give away. But
well, sometimes I talk about the answer and then don't actually say the
you're
answer.
like-
Hashtag Danny DeVito.
So yes, it is the Bat family because I looked it up.
Yeah.
Apparently, all he's written for Marvel is Vision,
Vision,
according to Wikipedia.
I think that's true. He did also Mr. Miracle,
but that's DC.
but it was also DC. Apparently, that is like
book-
some people
a good
like
one.
that better than Vision.
Because I was just
really
looking down his list on Wikipedia, and it was just like Batman, Grayson, blah blah blah, all
Right.
these things that are Bat related. And I was like, hey, the Vision family, the Bat family. So
Right.
there you go. You got 3 points.
good. Yeah. I have a way for you to get.
18.
Yeah. What is See, you need 4 points to win.
Oh wow! But we also have a Torrance point, so
Okay.
You could
so
leave
you
it
have to get mine to tie.
I need
and
to
then
tie.
Tory points to win.
sure that works for me.
Well, that's if I don't get Tory
I'm,
points.
I'm already going to lose.
It's fine. So I broke mine up a little bit just so you have some opportunity because remember, you always have to have a chance to win.
Gonna,
So
you're
mine,
saying there's a chance.
there is a legitimate one. So mine, I referenced at the end of our discussion about the Vision run, the Avengers run that was going on simultaneously. For my first question is, can you tell me the name of that Avengers run? I said it was something earlier on, but I was actually wrong. You have seen physical copies of these books. I don't believe they're right behind us. I'm pretty sure they're in the office right now, but I know I've shown you. The art is very striking. If you saw it, you'd be like, oh yeah, I've seen that before. So that's the first question. Can you tell me what the thing is? I'll give you a hint. It's not the Mighty Avengers, but that's just an example of how they name them the runs.
I don't know. I have 2 thoughts.
Yeah.
Does it? Can I ask a hint?
Yeah.
Does it start with the?
Technically, no. Although I've always said that.
Oh, well then that doesn't help me at all. Okay. I don't know. I got 2 guesses, and
Because I doubt you'll get it, I'll let you guess both of them.
okay. My first one is The Ultimates.
No. But that book also came out during that time.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking it used to be over there, and I'm not looking over there. In case
Right.
anybody's wondering, I'm not cheating.
It is still over there.
Oh crap! I should have looked.
Yeah. Well, the Ultimates is still over there.
Oh, okay. My second guess, which I'm 99% sure is not right. Actually, I'm almost positive it's not right because I think we're already dealing with the fallout from it. We've already had it happen. My guess was going to be Civil War 2.
No. It's called All New, All Different Avengers.
I did not know that.
Yeah. That's just what they called it.
I lost.
Like when we read that Thor, it was Thor, God of Thunder, you know.
Okay. That's
the first part.
My only hope is to get a point here, and tie.
The next part of that question deals with the same Avengers. Can you tell me who the roster was? There were 7 of them.
No.
I bet you can get pretty dang close. And also guessing would,
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the cover right now.
Iron Man.
1,
Sam Wilson.
2. Sam Wilson as Captain America, but that counts.
Carol Danvers.
Eh.
Oh. Then I don't know.
I'll let you get to... There's your one miss.
Spider-Man.
Which Spider-Man?
I was going to go with OP, Peter Parker.
Nope.
I lost.
Yeah. The lineup was Iron Man, Sam Wilson, Captain America, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Jane Foster, Thor, Vision, Nova, Young Nova, Sam Alexander, Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, and that was it. I think that was all of them.
Well, I've lost. My only hope is to not let him get this next point.
Well, I do potentially have 2 questions.
You could tie, I guess.
If that's the way you want to go.
Let's do it. I'm all for extra questions.
All right. First one is name that supervillain.
I love the pizzazz today.
And I'll go pretty basic. Born Cyrus Gold.
I know that name. Born Cyrus Gold. For a second, I almost thought it was Riches from Cyrus Gold. Are there any other hits?
Yeah. Another hint is that the only thing that he knew about himself was that he was born on a Monday. Which is weirdly a humongous clue.
Okay. Mr. Monday. I guess I always start guessing only Marvel villains, but I know that it could be just any...
Could be either one.
Either one. I need more clues.
I'll save that one. That one will probably give it away.
You would think.
Maybe. Let's see. Was originally a wealthy merchant.
Cyrus Gold.
Yes.
Usually they name them like their names end up having something to do.
I will say
this one has have nothing to do.
That you brought up something that he was born Cyrus Gold. What he's known as contains the first sounds of both those words, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I have
one last clue that
Jeopardy music. Mm-hmm. Cyrus Gold. I can't think of it.
All right, I'll give the last clue. Buzz in with your name if you know it. This person was murdered, and then their body was disposed of in Slaughter Swamp near Gotham City.
We're in a DC territory.
I had a feeling this whole time. Cyrus Gold just feels like a DC name.
Murdered in what swamps? What?
And the body was disposed of in Slaughter Swamp. This is his origin story.
I just don't know my DC villains well enough outside of Batman. And this might be a Batman villain, but...
It's interesting. I thought you guys would get this after this one.
I suck at Batman.
No. Well, okay, I've got one guess, and I don't feel like it's right. Solomon Grundy.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
It is Solomon Grundy.
Okay. I was thinking, I was trying to think of Go, like Saigo, but just S and G. Yeah,
I was thinking like Simon Gopher.
Solomon Grundy.
I don't know. Cool. Point for you. Next question.
Next question. A lot more simple question. This is more of a betting round of
GameStop.
You can't. I guess you could potentially say the same answer and it would just result in a tie for this question. But
So
how many
Solomon
times has the Cap's shield been destroyed?
Alex. 3.
Drew.
Oh, you're going to get
This is Price is Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Are we talking in comic books, in MCU, or both?
We're talking about in specifically comic books.
Okay. So I have no
I
idea.
don't think I can think of a time in the movies where it was destroyed.
I thought it was ripped in half at one
In
point.
Endgame it was.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway,
He like, ties it back in his arm and pushes blades it. Pretty gnarly.
I'm just going to go ahead and say 4.
Is this just who gets
Because I feel like 2.
If it's Price
two
is
too
Right
few.
rules,
I
Yeah.
didn't do that to be a jerk. So like if he's closer and it's because it's like 0 or 1, I'm fine with.
It's fine.
I'm just picking 4 just because Captain America's been around for a long time.
Yes.
Surely it's more than 2.
it's been 6 times.
Dang. Do you have them?
Yeah.
What are they? I want to know.
So in the Avengers number 215 to 216, Molecule Man destroys them along with Thor's hammer, Silver Surfer's board, and
Molecule Man is a very powerful character, so that makes sense.
Iron Man's armor. Yeah. In 1984 to 1985, Secret Wars,
Secret Wars, that was based off of Endgame.
Right.
Or mostly like that.
partially destroyed by Doctor Doom. And then, oh man, okay, I'm sorry. This is on me because I didn't see that this said miniseries. And the Infinity Gauntlet Thanos.
Sorry, that's what I meant to say. It's not Secret Wars.
Oh yeah.
It happened in the comics, though.
It did.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you're good.
Due to a stray molecule being out of place, and Rogers reconstructs the field using Beyonder's residual power, a vibranium cancer was introduced into the shield.
Right, the comics had a lot more to play with than the Endgame and Infinity War movies did. So some wild stuff happens.
And Avengers Volume 3, Thor destroys it. And the fall miniseries of 2011, Fear Itself.
Right. That was one I knew of.
Okay.
But I was guessing, cool. Tie then.
We tie.
Until next time, my friend.
Until next time.
Drew, do you have more to say?
No, I was just gonna continue being silly.
Well, where can people watch you be silly on the internet?
Watch me be silly on the internet.
Or, I mean, they watch your tweets.
Okay. Well, you can find me on the Tweeter at Drew Morris Comp. Elsewhere, Drew Morris Composer. What about you?
You can find me at Alex Wayne Miller. Wayne is Wayne, just like Bruce Wayne, because I'm Batman. Everywhere. All social media there.
I was going to make a joke, but I'm not going to.
What about you, Tori?
You can find me at Torrance Watkins on Twitter, where I recently promoted some stuff that I wrote.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of that, you got a fun little thing that happened. Do you want to tell people where they can?
Yeah, I mean, you
Witness?
can find it on my Twitter.
That's what you're saying. You just promoted that. Mm-hmm. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm stupid.
Yeah, he wrote a short horror story, correct?
Yep.
And it has been put to a video and some pretty ominous, cool music. The production quality was pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
it didn't take away from the story I like. They could have been like, here's how we interpret this, but they kind of guide you along. But he's got like a lot of views and a bunch of awesome comments. It was cool.
The Lighthouse Horror YouTube channel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that's where you can find it.
Yeah, check that out.
Cool, folks.
We're about
Speaking of YouTube, you can find us on YouTube.
yes, maybe you watched us just now on YouTube.
Anyway, yeah, you can find us on Twitter and in Twitter at 2Man Comic Book with the number 2. Instagram, Facebook, 2Man Comic Book Club, also with the number 2. We are available anywhere you get your podcasts if you happen to be watching us on video. And if you're listening to us on podcast, go check us out on YouTube. Just search for 2Man Comic Book Club. We got a large collection going so far. You can also find our blog where we it's kind of the first place that launches our content. twomancomicbookclub.blogspot.com, or shoot us an email. To this day, I don't think anybody's ever shot us an email.
You could be the first.
Well, other than people trying to get us to use their various podcast services.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, twomancomicbookclub@gmail.com.
Yeah, and then it goes a long way just sharing the podcast with somebody, because word of mouth, gets it around.
So does a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts for some reason.
Yeah, do that. We'll read it. We just want to interact with y'all, talk about comic books. Anything else, fellas? Cool.
Read more comics.
That's been it. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.